This is Mark Belton, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West, and we're at a really strong gym in the West. We're at Untamed Strength. I was here today with Silent Mike and some of the boys from Super Training Gym. We came here and taught a free seminar. We came, we saw, we kicked some ass, we taught some deadlifts, and we taught some squats, and we had an awesome time here. Really appreciate that Alan Thrall let us come here to kick some knowledge with some peeps. Later. Supposed to be 3 reps at top. I'm going to try to do another right here. So we'll try to do 6 reps. Go, come on. Go, Mark. Go, Mark. Come on! Right. Go, Mark. Come on! Go, Mark. Good. 6 reps. Here we go. Come on. Come on now. Come on, go! Up! Yep. There you go. Yep, 3, come on! Go, come on. 2! Last one, up and back. Nice. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Good. Let's go, Mark. A lot of times somebody may program 5 sets of 5 for somebody. And as a person who's getting the program, you may interpret that 5 sets of 5 quite differently than the coach did. It's a little bit like music. Each person interprets a song a different way on what the meaning of it is. Each person's going to interpret the workouts a little differently. And if you're in your head, 5 sets of 5 is crank up some music and go fucking balls out and go crazy, and that's a different interpretation than what the coach has, the program is going to automatically be less effective because it's not what the coach envisioned you to do. Jim Wendler, oh, it's raining out pretty good, huh? Jim Wendler with his 5-3-1 program has shared with many people that he wants people to have fun in the gym. He wants to make sure people are making their lifts. So he pulls the percentages way back. A program I shared with many people recently, the Stronger in 30 Days program, is similar, where you're using 75%. And people are like, God damn, why am I only using 75%? They want to use more. But guess what I see as soon as people post videos and they tag me, is I see them doing the lift the wrong way, even with 75%. So if I was to suggest 80 or 85, I know that the shit's really going to hit the fan. Make sure you're really doing the lift the right way. Be meticulous about it. You will get better and you will get stronger. When John was lifting the 225 pretty slowly and controlled, I was just telling you, that's how you get stronger. You should be able to almost feel it when you have it done the right way and when you're using the right weight. As you get more advanced, you'll start to feel that with heavier weights. It's going to take time. And what I mean by time is it's going to take 5 years, maybe 10 years. In this day and age, it can happen a lot faster because there's a lot more knowledge out there. But it could literally take you a decade before you have any clue on what the fuck you're doing, no matter what seminar you go to, or no matter who you learn something from. It takes time, and that's why it's important that you share the information with other people and you rub elbows with other people. It's important that you guys are here today. That's fucking awesome that you guys made the effort to come here today, because this is all part of this process. And meeting other people and being open-minded to other people and what they have to say about strength. Could you learn something from Alan Thrall, who likes to do strongman? Could you learn some stuff from him to make you stronger for powerlifting? 100%. There's no doubt. There's no question. If you increase your overhead pressing, increase your strength, learn some technique for overhead, you're less likely to hurt yourself doing those exercises. You're more likely to gain some strength in those exercises, which will help transfer over to some of these other lifts. Does anybody have any questions on bench pressing? Got a question right here in the front?
It's been a while since I competed, but originally we had to keep our feet flat on the floor. I noticed that these guys are going with their toes up. It's easier for me at my age now to do it like that. Is it okay?
It just depends on the federation. So for anybody in here that's going to compete and they've never competed before, try to check out the rules or ask a coach or ask somebody who's competed in that federation before. Every federation except for the USAPL, I believe, you can be up on your toes. So that one federation, the drug-tested federation, the USAPL, you need to have your heel planted on the ground. Most of the time the rules state that whatever way you start with how your foot is the way it's supposed to stay. Who really knows why? A lot of weird rules. Who cares if you move your foot a little bit when you bench press? Probably going to hurt you more than help you. But I guess they're trying to keep keep it uniform. Is there any other questions on a bench press?
What should the knee position look like? Are you driving out or are you kind of like pushing forward?
Yeah, we're trying to. Smokey's chomping on a donut. Literally, you're trying to drive your knees out a little bit because that's going to activate your butt, and it's going to keep your quads flexed. So yeah, he's trying to drive his knees out, and again, you kind of relax him real quick. You kind of see him kind of fold in just a little bit. When he pushes out, he's able to really push up and back. Why don't you come up here and try it? He's really able to push up and back onto his traps. We're trying to create almost like a decline bench. For any of you that have done decline bench, they don't really have them in gyms as much as they used to. But as soon as you do a decline bench for a few weeks, you're a lot stronger in a decline bench position than you are in a regular bench position. One thing I would suggest, everyone's a little bit different on what they're comfortable with, but I like to see the bar always rolled out to the front of the rack. And that is to try to ensure that we don't hit the rack. There's less room for error on that. That we don't hit the post on the way up when we bench press. That is without a doubt, the worst way to miss a lift in a contest. I've done it before, and it sucks. Marcus is going to lift out to him. Go ahead and get yourself set. Right now, hold on a second. Just relax a little bit. Right now, you want to try to be, when you're down here on the bench like this, I can tell that he's pushing really hard this way. And I can tell that because the bar keeps slamming to the back of the rack. He should kind of almost be more like pulling. As Mike was saying, that old bodybuilder pullover movement to expand the rib cage. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to kind of pull the weight out, and we're going to lock it, and we're going to post it in our triceps before we ever bring the weight down. But that's kind of the action that you want to have. So go ahead and do that again. Hey. So yeah, force the knees out. Yeah, there you go. Just do a couple reps. Good, knees out. Any of you having a hard time keeping your knees out? Sometimes it could be because your feet are too wide, whether it's a sumo, deadlift, or a squat, or a bench press. You kind of feel that, feel what we're talking about, or you have no idea what's going on?
I get it.
All right.
So you're pulling.
Yeah, you're trying to kind of pull the weight out this way, and you're forcing the knees out hard. When you force your knees out, it's going to make your butt flex. By having your butt flex, hopefully you have a butt. It'll help keep your ass on the bench as well, because your legs are going to be locked in the entire time. All right, get out of here. All right, who's next? Who else got a question? Blue.
What's a cue you give for somebody who has like a chronic issue with heaving or kind of picking the hips up off of the ground when they try to get that leg drive? So are you trying to get them to kick their leg out, or are you trying to get them to drive their hips towards the bar? Does that make sense?
Go ahead, Mike.
It'll depend. Two things. One, it'll depend on that leg position. Because if you're in the optimal position for you, which is going to be different for everybody, you should be able to flex as hard as you want and your butt won't come up. So that's kind of the position where we're talking about, where your knees are going to be below your hips. And going back to whether your feet are tucked or wide or whatever, it'll take a little bit of experimenting. If we have time to watch you in particular, we could probably place it. And then another thing that Eric Spoto, successful 722-pound raw bench, talks about is on the unrack, he likes to think about flexing his quads and glutes like 70 to 80% already. So you're already revving hard. And then off your chest, you're just flexing it that extra 20. Rather than if you have no flex in your quads and glutes, you bring the bar down to your chest and then you flex them out of nowhere, kind of that heave. Then it'll go out. Then you're more likely for your hips to raise. So one, it'll be depending on where your feet are, and then two, yeah, we're pressing this way, not up. Yeah, so flexing that quad, pushing yourself back onto your traps.
So you want to stay tight with your glutes flexed with them down on the bench.
Yep.
hold that the entire time.
100%. And then if you're having still trouble, it might be you're lifting too heavy too often, building bad habits over time. Kind of what we talked about before is just getting to that kind of sweet spot of training, which often is kind of 60 to 80%, where you can do everything perfectly. And tight hips might be an issue too. Sometimes, you know, a lot of people are students or work at a desk and you start to get really tight all in here. And then when you go to flex that, since it's tight, you have nowhere else except for your hips to raise. So, you know, warming up, something Mark preaches a lot, actually warming up and not just laying on a foam roller. Warming up your hips, even though you're benching. Warming up your shoulders, although you're squatting, is going to be super important.
A really easy way to warm up is to think about stuff that like costs the least amount of energy to do. If you go to a gym that has like a treadmill or an elliptical, as embarrassing as it is to get on those pieces of equipment, it could be effective for a warm-up. If you have a gym like this and you have a sled, you can go and walk with a sled. Think about the intensity of that. It's really, really low. Think about the intensity of doing some arm circles. Think about the intensity of doing some bicep curls. The intensity at which Mike does bicep curls is really high, but for the most part, most people are going to do it kind of casually. So that's the way you want to start your warm-up, and it's a very easy way to get yourself warm. Anything with the upper body is going to be a lot easier to do, but it's going to get your entire body warm. So every time you come into the gym, you can really literally start out with some lateral raises, some arm circles, some bicep curls, just super light, 5-pound dumbbells, 10-pound dumbbells, just to get your body moving. Then you start walking with a hip circle or walk on a treadmill or an elliptical, something like that. But you want to get your body temperature up each and every time. Once you get your body temperature up, you're going to be able to get into a better position for the day. When you're in a better position for the day, it does a bunch of good stuff for you, such as it allows you to recover from your workouts faster. Because if you're in a shitty position for the entire day, then it's going to be really hard to recover from those workouts. If you're rounded over every time you squat, or you can't get in good position, you can't sit back enough every time you do a sumo deadlift, and you keep pouring your energy over top of the bar every single time and rounding over and using your lower back, it's going to be a really difficult workout to recover from. The more efficient that you are, the better that you move, the more force that you'll produce, the stronger you're going to be, the more efficient you're going to be overall, and you're going to recover from your workouts a lot faster. Those are huge. When somebody says, oh man, it takes too long to warm up, think about some of the things that it does for you. So a little bit of stretching, a little bit of warming up, whatever the hell it is that you need to do. But if every time you go to the gym and every time you go to pick up a barbell, your hamstring is tight or your hip is tight and you're not addressing it, then it's just foolish. The definition of insanity is do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. If I keep trying to bench 600 pounds just the way I have in the past, I'm going to keep tearing my pec. I've torn it twice. So I have to make changes, and that's what I've been going through this process of making a lot of different changes, warming up more, taking my time more, making sure everything's just right, and not just going by quote unquote how I feel, because I always feel fucking awesome because I always talk myself into doing something crazy.
For the last couple of years, anything over about 85%, I've had pain on the outside, and the only thing that's made it better is grip training. Does that make any sense?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You know, the strength of your fingers and the strength of your forearms is going to play a huge part in how your elbows feel. Something as simple as a farmer's walk can help increase the strength and help get a lot of blood flow to that area. I think the biggest problem with the elbows is they get so taxed on literally everything that we do. Whether we're doing a rowing motion or a pushing motion, they're still getting taxed. Whether we're doing a deadlift or whether we're just grabbing a bar for the squat or whether we're bench pressing, they're still fucked no matter what we're doing. Whether you do a clean or a snatch, it doesn't matter what you do, your elbows are heavily involved and it's a very small joint. There are therapies and some different things you can try to have done to help. You can use something like a Mark Pro or a Compex unit. Some of these things are highly effective and stuff that Mike and I and a bunch of guys on the team use quite often, sometimes for warm-up, sometimes for recovery, sometimes for other things as well. Getting a massage. I recommend everybody in here start to look into getting some sort of massage, even if it's just a general massage. that can pay huge dividends for you because our bodies just get so goddamn tight. And who in here is going to do enough stretching and enough foam? Like, none of us really, right? Some of us may be more dedicated to it than others, but can you realistically take care of every little wound and bump and bruise that you have yourself? I mean, I feel like I'm dedicated to this shit to the bone, but at the same time, I don't want to spend all my time doing that. So to kind of have somebody else do some of that for you is awesome. Active release therapy is really effective. You're going to want to try to bounce around to some different people and try to find what's going to work well for you. I know Mike sometimes goes to a chiropractor, sometimes massage, right? Every once in a while he gets lucky and his girlfriend Sandy rubs him down. No. Sometimes I rub him down when Sandy's not around. Sometimes things get a little crazy. Yeah, so it makes total sense. You know, you can kind of work out some of these injuries. You can get blood to some of the areas. Like if you have chronic knee pain, there's a lot of different exercises you can do that can help draw blood to the area. That's what, you know, a lot of people think the internet is just for pornography, but there's something called YouTube where you can learn a lot of things. Alan Thrall has a channel, I have a channel, Mike has a channel. There's a lot of great information on YouTube where you can, you know, if you have elbow pain, you might end up with the fuck your elbow video. That's not going to be very helpful. If you have knee pain, you can look all this stuff up and you can find some great information. What do we got in the green, old school?
Whenever I bench and I'm going beyond like 8 reps in that area, I start to lose a lot of tightness in my back and I can't keep it in the higher rep range. What should I do or not?
God damn, why are you doing so many reps? Bodybuilding. You know, the higher rep range stuff is really interesting and it can help build a lot of strength. Again, you know, using the appropriate weight. There's 2 ways you can select your weight. You can select your reps. Sometimes it can be through the actual weight itself, and sometimes you can allow the actual repetitions to dictate the amount of weight that you're going to choose. So if you're going to do a set of 10, like for myself today when I did the set of 8 with 405, that would have been foolish to have that be, for me to say I'm going to do a set of 10 with this. If I was going to do a set of 10, I would have put on 365. So you can have the reps dictate it sometimes, and sometimes the weight that's on the bar can dictate that as well. We do a lot of that with dumbbell work. You go to grab dumbbells, Mike grabs 110-pound dumbbells. It's already like giving him a notion of how many reps he's going to do, because he kind of has an idea that he's not going to bust out 40 reps with 110s.
Maybe.
He's got an idea that it'll probably be somewhere in maybe a 12 to 15 rep range, depending on how he feels for the day. And so you want to try to select a weight that's light enough to where you're not getting unraveled, basically, is the truth of it. So if you feel like your form is starting to go, your form and technique should only go off track for a rep or 2 if it does at all. And it's unacceptable to creep into it doing too much more than that unless you're only using like 30 or 40% of your max. Using a really light weight and you're doing 30 reps or something crazy, then your form can start to really look like shit. And it's a little bit more acceptable because the weight is not damaging. But I'd still suggest that you try to keep that form locked in. You know, when Mike's doing a set of squats and he does a set of 5 and it's pretty heavy, maybe if he does 5 sets, maybe the last 2 reps, rep number 24 and rep number 25 of 5 sets of 5, maybe they look a little slower and maybe the form is compromised a tiny bit compared to set number 2 or 3, but it's very, very minimal. He's racking the weight. He's done with the set before we really see him unravel. So you don't want to get into that territory. You want to try to stay away from that as best you can. At the same time, you can't be lifting so light that everything's so effortless that you don't even need to think about it at all.
Very stereotypical 5x5 is at 80%, which in my opinion is way too heavy because you're not going to do that perfectly. So when I might do a 5x5, it's probably 72.5%. I'm serious. Yeah. You know, and that'll depend by people. So Mark's 5x5 might be 70% because he is stronger than me. And so for a 600-pound bencher to do a 5x5 at 455 is going to be much more difficult than a 400-pound bencher doing a 5x5 at 315. Yeah, because the weight's still heavy. Yes, his body is adapted to that weight, but it's still it's 400 pounds. You know, it is heavier.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is maybe change that programming, or rack as soon as you feel unraveled. As we talked about, you want to be successful in every single lift you do. You want to leave feeling good, and you want to do it the proper way.
Is there like a time where you know you need to prioritize your bench and your total? Like is there a ratio that you have or anything along those lines, depending on like body type or whatnot, where you're like, okay, the best thing for your total right now is to get that bench up rather than prioritizing that dead and that squat?
You hear very often people talk about working your weaknesses, and I've said this before. If we're all to work on our weaknesses, we're going to run off to the library. We're going to be doing something quite different than lifting weights. Working on what you suck at sucks. It's not fun. So don't be afraid to allow your strengths to be your strengths. At the same time, don't be foolish and neglect or have negative thoughts and not put time into what you're not good at. A true power lifter, a great power lifter, should be able to do a powerlifting meet, not hit one PR in any lift, not have a good day, and still be on track for a PR total at the end of the day, because they're well balanced, they're well seasoned, and they know how to grind it out, and they know how to still hit a PR total at the end of the day. I've had that happen once, pretty much in my powerlifting career, but it was one of the more proud days I've had on the platform, because as I got closer to the end of the meet, I'm like, oh fuck, man, I'm not doing as bad as I thought. I'm still in the race here. I'm still in the hunt. And that is the goal. The goal is to get a better total. But if you're always searching for a PR in each lift, sometimes you might be leaving weight on the platform. I might comment on this too.
Yeah, I would just say, I think it became popular that people talked about a few years ago that like, oh, I'm doing just a squat cycle because my deadlift's good. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about. Yeah, like, shit, I'm going to bench every day and maybe I'll only deadlift twice a month. I personally don't think that's needed. Looking at some of the top lifters all the way down to me somewhere in the middle, all the way down to beginners, I think you can get stronger at all of them at the same time with smart programming and efficient training. So yes, if your bench is a weakness, you can maybe prioritize it a little bit, you know, and if you know that, like kind of like Mark said, like he could probably prioritize his squat and deadlift because he has to put more work in there than he does his bench. He could bench, 365 to 455 and still probably bench 560, 570 at a meet. And if you have a lift that you're gifted at, maybe you can pull back a little bit, right? Because you can work less on it and become better. But I wouldn't say that I would super prioritize any lift over the other. And if I did, it would probably be in accessories. Often with bench, as Mark talked about before, we're doing more exercises and we're doing more overall volume for our upper body because there are more muscles involved. Yeah, you can do back on deadlift day and who cares, you can get stronger many ways. But yeah, if you're lacking in size, you need to hit more shoulder press, you need to hit more rows, you need to hit more arms, and you need to eat more. So I'd maybe try to prioritize in that way rather than eliminating volume or program from a major lift.